Welcome to the Trend Detection Podcast, powered by Siemens. And now your host, Niall Sullivan.
Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Trend Detection Podcast. I'm really pleased to say today I have one of my colleagues on the call in the UK, so Sarah Blacksmith, and we're going to talk about sustainability, which is a new topic that no one's ever heard about, I'm sure. I'm not so sure, but no, we're going to dive into a sort of slightly different angle on it. Different perspective on sustainability and net zero, and your experience with it, Sarah, which in your new role, we'll say, but I'll let you introduce yourself, and we're going to dive into that topic. So actually, before we get going, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be on your podcast. My name's Sarah Blacksmith. I work in Siemens Digital Industries, so yes, we are colleagues. And I look after the motion control part of the business as a general manager. So I've been with Siemens for 21 years this year, so cut me down the middle. Siemens, Senseye's brand new, aren't you, to the family? But yeah, so I'm mainly in manufacturing is my background. So 20 years in various manufacturing roles, and then in the last year and a bit has moved over into the digital industry sales sort of side of the world. So yeah, it's and then more recently taking on an on-top role for sustainability for digital industries specifically. So yeah, it's learning lots and lots in this last year. But sustainability, it's really interesting, isn't it? 'Cause like you say, like nobody's heard of it, but it's always been around. But I think we're just badging it slightly differently now. So yeah.
No, exactly. I mean, yeah, for Siemens and every other global company in the world, it's sort of top of the agenda at the moment. But I think we had our discussion before about what we were going to talk about and things like that, and you shared some, I think, a presentation you have done or about to do at the time, which brought up some interesting sort of initiatives you're working on, and particularly at Congleton as well. I just wanted to start actually with all your experience at Siemens. So what have you learned over that time about maybe sustainability to start with, but just how has that helped form who you are today and where you are in this role, I guess?
I mean, my background and one of my main passions is all around people management. So, not dealing with that's the wrong word. All different types of people, figuring out what, brings out the best in different people. Different situations call for different ways of dealing with things and managing people. So yeah, I think that's probably been one of my main passions over the last 20 years. Not that you ever figure it out, but trying to get the best out of people. I suppose like the last, it was sort of like 2014, 2015 when we sort of embarked on sustainability as a journey in Congleton, albeit I don't think we called it that then. I think Joe Kaiser I'm sure it was 2015, sort of announced a plan or an ambition that he wanted all of the operations within Siemens to be net zero by 2030. So I think this was kudos to the Siemens leadership for actually talking and recognizing about this a lot sooner than it was probably more. It's really popular now to be talking about sustainability. And my old manager at Congleton is Andrew Peters, and he definitely led the way on all the sustainability journey that we've been on since 2014 onwards. I'd say, really getting us to net zero and on that carbon neutrality journey. Now we've got this degree framework that came out in 2021 for Siemens, which is our own version of our aspirations, I guess, around sustainability. But I think that complements or is a development of what we've been doing since how many years is that now? It's quite a while, like nearly 10 years.
I guess, so what led to your role today then in sustainability? I guess not just, obviously it must have appealed to you to take the job, but as in terms of, the passion behind sustainability, and what sort of excited you about that sort of role in Siemens?
I think we've got a huge opportunity certainly in Siemens to I think the stats are about 30% of all global emissions, come from industry. So, and obviously our goal, our reason to be in Siemens, certainly in Digital Industries, is about making industry more competitive, more sustainable, and more productive, ultimately through the use of our technology. So I think that was really, and having had the opportunity in Congleton to implement quite a few of those things, it was definitely interesting for me that was what got me putting my hand up to say, like, I'd be really interested to see how that affects our customers and how we can better, use reference cases from customers, from our own operations, to showcase how our technology can support that, but also sharing knowledge between different from us as a manufacturer, Siemens, to customers, to other manufacturers, and generally help everyone raise the bar on their sustainability journey. So I think it was born out of what we'd done in Congleton and being motivated by that, and seeing what opportunities we've got to help other people in the UK manufacturing industry and globally, obviously, from a Siemens point of view.
It's almost like a test base for customers, right? And I quite like that idea. So how, what's come out of that is, I guess there's been a lot of findings. It's great testing bed for a lot of Siemens technologies, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of our strategy rounds was all about becoming a showcase factory. So building Siemens products using Siemens products. So, wherever possible, we're obviously wanting to showcase the use of Siemens technology in driving efficiency and making us more productive in the Congleton factory. So, yeah, absolutely. It's a huge. I think when anything new comes out, we're always the first ones that are like putting our hands up, like, yeah, we'll give that a whirl, we'll give it a try. I think they're really open to doing things in a different way, and not just doing not the status quo. And I think part of that is like having that burning platform, wanting there to be manufacturing remaining in Congleton. So if you want that, we need to be competitive. If we want to be competitive, we need to be looking at how do we do things differently, how do we make things as efficient as possible, or how do we eliminate doing them in the first place, which is ultimately the best thing from an energy or a sustainability point of view from materials. So I think definitely it's a good place to. I mean, it has to be at a technology readiness level that's we're not a university or a catapult centre, but definitely we're definitely up for trying new things and new technology if it's going to make us more productive. So and ultimately sustainable as off the back of that as well. So yeah.
Oh, excellent. And I guess as we move back to, I guess, sustainability, you mentioned it briefly before us, the Siemens sustainability frameworks. Maybe we could talk a bit about that. And I guess most importantly, how's it impacting sort of customers?
Yeah, I think, it's our Siemens's aspirational goals, I guess, and a framework to sort of hang those on. So degree is in reference to, in part, to the Paris Agreement and keeping global temperatures below the 1.5 degree sort of limit. But it's also, for us, it's a 360 degree approach. So typically we talk about decarbonisation and resource efficiency really heavily. But actually the degree, each part of the degree stands for something. So decarbonisation, ethics, so we want to be an ethical business. We want to have a strong governance, which is the G. So, make sure that our business conduct is at the level that we expect of a global company. Resource efficiency, I've mentioned, in terms of having robust eco-design of portfolio elements. Equity, and we want our company to be a place where people feel safe coming to work in. We want it to be a diverse and inclusive environment where people can bring their whole selves to work. So and then the final one is employability. So how do we make sure that we are the employer of choice? How do we ensure that our employees are resilient to the ever-changing market conditions and environments that we're all working in? So I think it's quite nice that it's not just one thing. It's not just about energy efficiency, or it's not just about resource efficiency. And I came up with an acronym to try and remember it. I mean, it is an acronym, but an even simpler one. So if you think about it in three parts, like social sustainability elements. So, for example, the equity, creating an environment where people really want to work in. Environmental, which is, the decarbonisation, the resource efficiency, but also environment. It's the economic as well. So I think economic sustainability. So if you want to be a sustainable business per se, you want to have a long-term future, not thinking about sustainability in terms of, like I say, energy efficiency. That actually, if you want there to be a sustainable business, you need to make sure that you're constantly looking at productivity, for example, and that you're doing the right things for the long-term health of the business. C. Social, economic, and environmental. That was I said that to our sales teams a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, "Oh, okay, that's easier to remember than degree." I was like, "But I like degree too, but sometimes I can, even you get you're forgetful of which bits are what." So but I think it's trying to think of sustainability as more than just environmental sustainability. It's economic and it's social as well, or certainly that's the way that Siemens sees it. I tend to agree.
I think that's the most interesting. I mean, again, degree with three E's. Actually, maybe that's the confusion. There's too many E's. Not for me to criticise the
global
messaging or the global messaging, I should say. But I think what's really positive about it, like you said, because I think there must be a big misunderstanding, because everyone hears sustainability, think, energy efficiency and carbon footprint, and you've just touched on some other really, really important points there. Is it often sort of misunderstood in, let's say, the outside world, outside of Siemens?
I don't know if it, I think that's my perception of what people are mainly talking about with sustainability is the decarbonisation part and the resource efficiency, and not necessarily thinking about it in terms of like the long-term growth of your business, the long-term, having a sustainable business that's fit for purpose over the long term, that'll be there for generations to come. And similarly, on the social side of things. So, for example, one example is around that Siemens has a target of getting more women into top management positions. So on each of these parts of the degree framework, there's a goal or a number of goals that have been agreed and published. So if anyone's interested, you can just Google the degree framework Siemens, and there's a report that comes out that came out last year, 2022. I'm sure the next one will be out soon. That gives our aspirations in terms of qualitative and quantitative targets. You take that under equity. There's the one about getting more females into top management positions and having a target of I think it's 25%, but don't quote me on this. 25% by 2025, something along those lines. It might be slightly higher than that. I think it's good to have those different things, because that over the long term is going to make you more of a sustainable business ultimately. Because if there's half of the population that you're not encouraging into positions where they're going to have an equal opportunity to lead, or just equal opportunity in terms of joining the company and being promoted through the company, then we're missing a trick really, because diversity is productivity at the end of the day. If you can get more different ways of thinking and different ways of doing things, like we were talking about earlier, then you're going to enable us to be a better company. So I think it's really important to have all those different aspects in the mix, and not just focusing on one thing, as you tend to hear.
No, exactly. It's too well, and that's why we sort of joked about it at the beginning about sustainability. We all know all about it, but actually, I'm going to imagine. You say it's your perception, but it's actually probably my perception, and a lot of people's perception, that you put it in a box, don't you, and what you hear every day, and what you see. But it's actually, like you said, sustainability is more about the rounded, the business and the growth of a sustainable business ultimately as well.
Yeah. I think I think it's like I don't think I fully answered your question in terms of like for our customers. I think there's a lot of, obviously our technology supports our customers on a journey to a certain point, around the whole decarbonisation and resource efficiency. Our software, enables customers to design design products, processes in the virtual world, which means that you're not making stuff that's wrong and then potentially reworking that or scrapping it altogether, and then obviously wasting materials, time, money. So I think we've got us as a company obviously has massive value, I feel, to support customers on their journey of productivity. But I also think us sharing what we're doing in our own factories is really important. One, because it's the right thing to do, obviously, but two, because we can share. We're manufacturers as well. At the end of the day, we can share what we've done well, what we've not done well, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and grow UK manufacturing or global manufacturing together. So I think that's where the value of what we're doing comes in for customers, in terms of our products, but in terms of our factories and what we're doing in our factories as well.
Yeah, because I mean, of course, with things like particularly software, and speaking from a software side, I guess it's sometimes you want to see and touch, the software. It's easy to, and I mean, obviously it can be presented in lots of different ways, but if you're actually seeing it in a production environment, there's nothing better than that. And being able to ask an expert about, what's your use of it? How do you use it? Do you use it in this way, etc.? And then you can ask those. So I guess you have regular, it goes without saying, really regular sort of customer visits and things like that, show and tell kind of days.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest examples that we had of using software, like if I do a Congleton reference, was using Plant Sim, which is part of the Siemens PLM product lifecycle management suite, which effectively is a discrete event simulation software tool that enables you to simulate a whole line or processes or factories. And in one case, we looked at a mechanical cell of one of our inverter products. And me as well, like we were all convinced it was the test system, so we have to functionally test our products once they're built before they go and they're packaged. And I was so convinced that we needed another test system because everything was bottlenecking, that we weren't able to get enough out, of this cell. And we were thinking like, right, how are we going to increase the capacity? And without, it was a perception more than it was an actual, using based on data. So, but we actually used the Plant Sim information or modeled it, and found out that actually the utilization of the test systems was nowhere near what it needed to be. And actually we were bottlenecking upstream. We weren't able to feed the test systems enough products. So what it enabled us to do was that we didn't have to purchase another test system. We needed to build another assembly bench. So we did that, and we actually had enough capacity in the test system. So we avoided spending something in the region of £230,000, and then having another test system that's running all the time, using energy. We would have wasted a whole lot of engineering effort, not to mention money, in terms of getting it all going, and doing tests through the system, etc. So I think there's a huge opportunity to use technology, software, and obviously automation technology to make us more efficient, and ultimately you're more sustainable if you're doing that anyway, aren't you? Because you're not going to be using as much energy or making as products wrong in the first place, etc. So I think there's a big opportunity around, and I just don't think people twig that like that's sustainability too. That is, if you're doing that sort of stuff if you're designing and your products, your processes virtually and simulating the lines, then you're going to figure out what's wrong with them beforehand rather than implementing them. And which is what we used to do. We used to implement cells, and then we would have a flip chart, and we'd have a month where we'd sort of tweak, what's the word? Like you'd snag it, wouldn't you? Like, if you go to a new house, you'd snag it. And we'd spend ages snagging it and then have to rework parts of it, that weren't working. Whereas now that's all done virtually in the VR cave, virtual reality cave that we've got, using 3D software to enable you to walk through it, and using the simulation tools to sort of identify opportunities for changing the layout, changing the resourcing of different benches, etc. You can just simulate the whole line and see what works, what doesn't work. So yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity for people.
And I think sometimes when we talk about technology, and we've talked about on this podcast with previous guests as well, is sometimes that it's very easy to go, oh, that's really cool technology, I'm just going to let's purchase that and let's deploy it and do whatever. But it's not thinking about what the problem you're trying to solve, and it could be a number of different things. But even if, like you said, there's benefits which people don't even think about, probably like the sustainability angle. Is that something that you'd sort of resonate with you as well?
God, yeah. I mean, take Senseye and preventative maintenance and predictive maintenance. I mean, if you can nail that and do that properly, then you're going to save huge amounts of energy, aren't you? A huge amount of time, wasted maintenance technician time. You can proactively change things. You can plan things in. You can, make sure that you're optimizing the use of your lines, the use of your machinery. Not running stuff all of the time when you don't need to. It's huge, isn't it? You put like a massive amount of utilization, or, yield into when you're capacity planning, or if you've not got a machine that's reliable, or if you know that if you up front know that you're going to be planning things as opposed to being reactively responding to breakdowns and stuff, you can ultimately save a lot more time planning it in proactively, and having the capability and the technology that enables you to be notified of that, as opposed to the reactive. You're going to have a load of people stood around. You're going to be spending extra money probably on expensive spare parts that need to be couriered quickly because the machines are down. Again, that's all part of running a sustainable business, and utilizing technology to make you more efficient and productive, and by doing that, you're going to be using less energy. You're going to be making sure that you are, you're doing the right thing to make sure you're there for the long term, but you're also doing your bit in terms of using less energy and making sure that you're as efficient as possible. So yeah, technology's got a huge part to play in sustainability, I think, and it's a massive opportunity for manufacturers around the world.
And I wonder actually whether it could be predictive maintenance, could be another type of technology, but whether customers are now, whether demanding is the right word, but demanding that their software does assist with, or can count towards sustainability, or help towards their goals. Now it's almost like a prerequisite of procuring any type of software or automation.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think, like, one, you want to know how much energy equipment is going to use, and you need technology to be able to help present that information for you so that you can make the right decisions. So I think one of the things that we sort of highlighted is it's using technology but putting a sustainability lens on it, if you know what I mean. So what are the KPIs that are important from a sustainability point of view, and compared to what you might previously have used? I mean, if you take, for example, like historically, since the first industrial revolution, we've been take, make, waste, haven't we? We've taken inputs and raw materials, we've made something, and then ultimately we still do, we bin things, and when we're finished with it. And I think, and now we're starting to move to, well, okay, the KPI is going to change to, okay, how can we reuse components of those products? And that's a different KPI that we'd never had before. When we're designing our portfolio elements, particularly in Siemens, that's one of our goals around robust eco design. Are we designing that? One of the KPIs is, okay, has it been through that environmental standard, environmental protection standard, that makes sure that you're assessing all parts of that design. The materials that are going to be used, can the materials be reused later on? Have you made the processes as efficient as possible? Which suppliers are you engaged with? We weren't doing any of that. We weren't talking about any of that a number of years ago because that wasn't the KPI. So I think, it's shifting. The focus has shifted onto all the elements that we've spoken about on the degree framework, which is why I think it's important to have frameworks like those so that you're actually measuring the things that you believe are important to you, that will make you more sustainable as a business in general in the future. If you get what I mean. Hopefully.
No, I do.
Please like and subscribe on all major podcast channels and find out more about Senseye Predictive Maintenance at Siemens.com.